Hello, I am Jennifer Bashaw, and many of you already know me, but I wanted to give you an introduction to our Ministry Practicum class that is starting on Monday, and maybe a little bit of orientation to what is going on online and what are the things that you're going to need to be doing during this course. First, I want to introduce myself. Though most of you know me already, there are some of you who are new and don't know my story. So just briefly, I want to tell you a bit about my experience in ministry. So I grew up Southern Baptist, actually, in Texas. I was an Army brat, so we moved around quite a bit. But I started feeling a call to ministry in high school. But in the Southern Baptist church that I was in, I didn't see very many models of women being ministers, and so I didn't really follow that as quickly as I could have. I did see children's ministers and missionaries, but I just didn't know if that was what God was calling me into. And so while I was at Baylor for college, I became more and more active in church groups and then also leading Bible studies. And so I decided to go to seminary because I was feeling a stronger call to ministry at that point. I married my husband after Baylor, and we both went to Truett Seminary together. And during our years at Truett, we tried to figure out, what the future held for us when it comes to ministry. And we did youth ministry at that point. And I think it was difficult for me to figure out my calling because I was still in a Baptist environment, and it was difficult to see any models of women in ministry at that point. But my professors encouraged me to pursue more schooling to maybe teach. And so I went to Fuller Seminary in Pasadena, California to get my PhD in New Testament. And the whole time I was there, I was working in a church as associate pastor and loved that work, but still felt like I could also contribute in the classroom. And so my first job after my PhD was at East Texas Baptist University. I taught ministry classes and New Testament and other Bible courses. And now I've been here at Campbell for 2 years, teaching also New Testament and ministry courses. So I'm familiar with church life and the work of the church. And so I hope that I have structured this class in a way that's going to be very practical for you, helpful for you emotionally, psychologically, mentally, and practically as you do the work of your practicum. So let me tell you what's going on here. You have already made your way to the orientation button, so you know about that. You will need to look at the syllabus and schedule, though I did send that to you earlier, just so you can get an overview of what's going on. If you do not have your books yet, you need to get them ASAP, because our first 2 readings are all this week, and you'll have to be turning the assessments in for those by the end of this week, by Sunday. So let's actually look at the place where you are going to spend the most time, and that is the weekly content button. So let's just go into week 1, and I'll give you an idea of what every week is going to look like really for you. Now you will be working at the church or ministry, whatever place you have an internship at, during the week. And so throughout the course of the 8 weeks, you're going to need to log 100 hours of ministry work. If you divided that up evenly, it would be 12.5 hours a week. But I know that's probably not the way it's going to work out for you all. Just make sure you're keeping a very good log of when you work and how many hours you're working. And that's actually the first thing that you're going to be doing maybe not the first thing, it'll be the end of the week, but the first thing that you need to be thinking about every week, and that is keeping log of your hours, making sure that you write down the different ministry tasks or activities that you have performed. And then by the end of the week, you need to look back on those and then do a weekly report for me that you will turn in before the Sunday of the next week. So the first week starts May 20th, and so you'll be turning in your work by May 26th by midnight. So here, the first thing is your weekly report, and so you will type up hours worked, your ministry task performed. Give an assessment of yourself, how you did that week, what were your most effective ministry practices, and what were some struggles that you had. And then if you meet with your supervisor during that week, make sure that you record that as well. I've told the supervisors to try to meet with you every other week so that you'll have 4 meetings at least total, but you can meet with them as often as you would like, and that they have time for. So weekly report, you'll do that every week. You will also have reading from your cultural intelligence book. I'm going to show it to you here. Readings and also questions/exercises. So you notice the first week you're reading the introduction and the first chapter, and then you have questions. So you're going to do that as well. Also, you have a different book that you'll be reading called The Vulnerable Pastor. This is going to be an easier read than the other one. It's very practical, emotional kind of book that talks about what it's like to be a pastor, really, but it has a lot of reflection in there. So you're going to be keeping a reflection journal, and you'll be answering all the reflection questions that you find in your reading. You'll be answering them in the journal. So I've made a schedule for you so you can see which chapters you're going to read which weeks and how many total journal questions there are in that chapter. It starts out pretty easy, but quickly in week 2 you're going to have 11 different questions to answer. So make sure you set aside a good chunk of time, a couple hours I would say, to do these vulnerable pastor reflections, and also to do the cultural intelligence. If I were you, I would do these at 2 different times. Maybe do the cultural intelligence in the beginning of the week and the vulnerable pastor at the end, or however you can work it, but because it might be too much to do it all at once. The last thing that you have to do every week is to participate in the Ministry Practicum discussion board. And so you'll click on there, and every week I'll post a question. You'll have to respond to it. Now, this is the only thing that's due before the Sunday of the week. You need to post your response, your post, by Thursday, and then respond to 2 different people's posts before Sunday. So everything, all the work of the week is due Sunday night or by Sunday at midnight, except for your posts for the practicum discussion, because I need you to post those so other people can comment on it. And so that's it. That's really the structure of every single week. And so you should get into a pretty good pattern of this, doing your weekly reports, reading your 2 books, doing your questions, doing your journal, and then discussion board. So it's pretty cut and dry. So if you ever have any questions about an assignment or anything that's going on in your practicum, please email me. I'm going to be checking my email all the time so I can respond to you. And I'm just really excited about this time where you get to have hands-on experience in ministry, but also reflect on other things that go into ministry, spirituality, your emotional health, cultural intelligence, all the things that we're going to read about and struggle with during this course. So thank you again. Bye-bye.